Hey everyone, in this video I'm building a witch's cottage in The Sims 1. I say witch's cottage, it could be for a wizard, a male sim, a non-binary sim, literally any sim. It's probably going to be for just one sim. It's quite a small cottage. It's not really a place you'd maybe come to raise a family. I wanted to purpose build something for a magical sim, but I kind of didn't want to build it in Magic Town. I think there's some kind of an allure to living in Magic Town, but the fact that you can't just move there straight away when you start playing, it makes it a bit of a challenge. It makes it something kind of to work towards, the fact that you have to earn a certain number of magic coins to be able to move there. So I thought it might be nice to have something a magic sim could just move into straight off the bat. Having said that, this cottage does not end up being a starter home. It actually ends up being quite expensive. But then there is always the option of just deleting all the objects and moving into an empty house and using cheaper wall coverings and floor coverings to kind of bring the price down. I feel maybe there's a bit more you can maneuver there with price than with magic coins. It's like a bit more set, like you've got to have these magic coins to move to Magic Town and you've got to already be pretty magical as a sim to do that. So it's a bit more restrictive somehow maybe, or maybe just a bit more exclusive. Maybe not every magical sim wants to live in Magic Town. Like you could be like a magical sim who kind of wants to live among non-magical sims and just get along with everybody. The lot I chose for this house is the lot just behind the Black Point Cottage. I wouldn't say it necessarily blends in with the houses around it, but at the same time it is kind of just a house in the neighborhood. Like maybe if you lived in the Black Point Cottage, you might think, oh, the house behind my neighbor's a little bit quirky, like, they're brewing potions in their backyard, but we love them anyway. I feel like it should be completely acceptable for magical sims to live alongside non-magical sims. So I was kind of bearing that in mind when I was building this house. It was a little bit of a journey to figure out what I wanted to do in terms of the floor plan and kind of the structure of the house. So you may see some kind of cuts in the video where the furnishing suddenly changes or the wallpapers have suddenly changed because I stopped recording, went off and did something else and came back and made a few changes before I started recording again. But hopefully you'll still kind of get the gist of the house coming together and being developed. I definitely wanted to use more diagonal walls in this house than I usually do. I feel like I often try to avoid using them because you can't put anything up against them, you can't put doors or windows on them. I find them a little bit awkward, and there's no way to have diagonal roofs either, so I don't know, they can just look a little bit strange, too many diagonal walls. But I don't know, with this house I wanted to have a floor plan that was maybe a bit more, I don't want to say rickety, but the kind of feeling of like a house or like a small cottage that looks maybe like it's been patched together slightly somehow. I don't know if you know what I mean. Like it doesn't have like perfect symmetry in this area or that area. The rooms are kind of slightly strangely shaped. I was originally going to have a second story. I really had this idea that the room that ends up being the bedroom could be some kind of almost tower room with a spiral staircase that would lead up to like a secret magic room where the sim living here could practice magic and maybe display all their charms and read their spell book or anything that they want to do that's specifically magic related away from kind of the main part of the downstairs in the house. But I kind of changed my mind on that idea because when I started experimenting with the idea of an upstairs room, it just kind of looked slightly odd. And I was kind of fine with the house not looking super perfectly proportioned and realistic, but it made it look a little bit too kind of top heavy in a really strange kind of way to just have a room kind of plonked on one end on the second story. I thought about maybe having it as some kind of a balcony with like a staircase leading up from the outside, but in the end I thought maybe I'm just going to keep it simple and just have the whole cottage on one floor, and then the option of expanding is always there. It's always possible to add another floor later or just extend it. It's kind of like how small homes are often quite nice to start out in, and it's kind of fun and cozy to start in a small home, but then as you keep playing and the game develops, it's kind of natural to just want more space. I don't know if that's just because Sims end up having maybe a little bit more money, so it's like, what do we do with our money? Should we expand the house? Or if it's just like wanting to have more objects around the house, just wanting to have more stuff. or to just have more Sims as well. So yeah, there's always that option of expanding. I was a little bit torn with which direction I wanted to go with kind of the vibe of the house. Like initially I had this idea that it was going to be a really kind of creepy cottage, like very dark and mysterious, kind of like the lot in Magic Town that has like the graveyard puzzles, and it's like really kind of spooky feeling, like that kind of dark look. And then I thought, no, maybe I want it to be more like a cozy cottage feel with kind of like warmer, dark woods and I don't know, a more like welcoming cottage feel. And then I thought, no, that's like a bit too far the other way somehow. Maybe the Magic Sim who lives here is kind of up to no good, like who knows. So some of the furniture I initially used, like the dining chairs that are made of bones, I kind of decided against. Like that's a little bit too creepy. But then I didn't want things to be too warm and cozy either. So I did change up some of the wall and floor coverings quite a few times until I kind of managed to have a balance that I was happy with, I guess. I definitely ended up keeping some kind of creepier elements, like the head in a jar sculpture tucked away in one corner. And I also put Bonehilda's closet in the bedroom. So that's maybe a little secret that the neighbors don't know about, that the house owner does have a skeleton made, as well as a voodoo doll tucked away onto one of the many end tables in the house. I did put quite a few empty end tables sort of scattered around, just because I find like once your sim starts making charms, they don't really have anywhere to put them, so they either dump them on random tables or counters, or they end up going on the floor, and it doesn't really look like they belong anywhere, so I feel it's kind of helpful to have some places to put them. I also wanted to try and really make use of the outside and the space around the cottage itself. Because the lot is on a corner, there's kind of two roads that are going past the house. So you've got the path leading up to the front door from the mailbox, but then there's also this kind of other side that's also facing the road. And I thought it would be nice to have a place to plant a garden out there. So there's just a couple of plots to plant grapes, to use to make nectar in the nectar press, which is out on the back patio. But you could also replace those plots and just have the vegetable gardens and grow vegetables instead. The backyard is quite secluded. There are quite a lot of trees in the yard, kind of shielding what might be going on in the backyard from the road. And there are a few little ponds and fences as well, kind of dividing up the space, but also just kind of giving the impression of like, this is my backyard, no, you can't just wander straight into it. Although it's not fully blocked off, so I'm sure some Sims will be able to find their way into the backyard without going through the house if they want to. I don't necessarily see the Sim living here hosting a lot of parties or having a lot of Sims over, just because the house is maybe not really designed for it. There aren't the kind of social spaces designed for entertaining and partying. But I guess it would kind of just depend on the personality of the Sim who moved in. It doesn't feel fair to generalize about all magical Sims somehow being super mysterious and keeping to themselves, because they might be very outgoing and very sociable, so that option is always there. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to download this house and add it to your game so you can play in it. Do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.